Yo, this is Barry John. I am getting ready to do my big sermon, I want to say, for the first time of pretty much kind of doing something like this. I've never really done a sermon before, and yet here I am feeling like I'm out here to preach. I'm out here to really talk about a hard topic today, and found a good spot. I had to kind of look around, and I was praying, meditating. I'm hoping there's not going to be a lot of noise, not interfering with people walking by and stuff like that. And so I went down to the Intergovernmental Center, and I was like, hey, can I just use this stage? I think this is perfect for what I'm trying to do today, and I am here. So without further ado, let's just get on topic and start talking. So one of the things that I feel that I needed to preach about, that has been on my heart for the longest time, wanting to debunk myths, get a law changed into this and whatnot, and making something illegal, and kind of changing the way we look at this topic in certain ways as well. I wanted to really get in depth with this and stuff like that, and actually challenge people in their way of thinking and whatnot. And in kind of order to do this, it just I need to reach out to as many people as I can, not just Christians, but atheists as well. And I don't want, so that's why I have to talk in the way of let's not look at this as a Christian thing and not an atheist thing. Let's look at this as, can we come together and say, is there a problem with this world and where we live in when it comes to this topic and whatnot? Can we fix this issue? And a lot of it comes down to taking steps and whatnot, and doing the right steps and all that as well. So the topic I'm here to talk about today is abortion. It's kind of one of those big, huge political things that people are nervous to talk about because it has so much involvement behind it, and it's not an easy topic to talk about, but here we are talking about it. And so kind of what I want to do is I want to talk about myths and facts about this. I want to get into laws, why we need to have laws on this, and making it illegal, but how to make it illegal and in the right way of doing things. But where is the problem lying in on this topic, and what really needs to be done? How do we make this the proper things and all the right channels we're supposed to go through to get this to make these things happen and stuff? Who should we be voting for when it comes to this next election as well? And my goal, and like I said, I do not want to make this something that is going to be about religion and stuff, because like I said, we need to meet in the middle on this and at least say, hey, are we able to admit that no matter where we stand on any belief system, this is a problem, this needs to be solved in any way that we can. And that's why I am out here doing this right now, and I have to do this in 4 other blogs, repeating the same message more or less. So let's get into the kind of the myths and the facts and stuff. The first thing I want to say is that 1 million abortions happen every year, and 1% of them are because of rape. And I think that then the other small portion is going to be of emergencies, pregnancy not going well, and that's a very low rate. But the majority of the issue is women are having sex when they're not ready to be parents and whatnot, doubling down on birth control and whatnot, thinking that it's going to work or whatever, or lack of not using it. Could be either or. And I also think the other issue is, as a country, we are not teaching people good morals and good values, and that's something that our country, I think, needs. We need to get back to teaching people how to save themselves from marriage, why saving yourself from marriage is important in this world, and that it is a huge big deal and whatnot, because it's a part of taking responsibility to preparing yourself to wanting to have a family is by saving yourself from marriage, being abstinent, and focusing on other things like getting to know each other in the relationship. And then once you're engaged, you're supposed to be focusing on the steps of getting married and whatnot, and setting your boundaries of like, what do you want in a family and whatnot, and figuring out how you're going to make a family work, more or less, is what happens in that engagement. And then once you get married is when we're supposed to look at the idea of like, we've talked about things, we've prepared, we saved money, we've done everything, now we're married, now we want to have children. That is how marriage should be. Sex is supposed to be not in the relationship, not in the engagement. It is supposed to be in the marriage, and we are not doing that as a country. And a lot of the big problem is I think what advertises it the most is, it comes down to, what does the porn industry teach us and whatnot, and then they pour into our minds that having sex out of marriage is okay, and it reaches more out to women that this is fine and whatnot. And the proof is in the pudding. I was doing my homework, and 2 million of women have a OnlyFans account. 22,000 women do professional porn. And that's a lot. And another statistic that is disturbing, so then it affects not just the adult industry, it affects the teens and stuff, because they get the message that doing this is okay. And then if you look into that, over half of U.S. teens have had sex by the time that they were reaching 18. And then when it comes to I'm trying to look at this here. And then when it comes to unplanned pregnancies and births and whatnot, in 2020 there were like 158,000 births were from females, not ready to be parents and stuff like that. So what do we have to do to kind of make change in this? I think the first thing is we need to make abortion illegal in all 50 states. But I think we need to also, to make this work, we need to redefine what an abortion is, and then put a new term for women who are needing to have emergency end a pregnancy if the woman is dying and her health is deteriorating and cannot do the pregnancy to full term. That's why I want to introduce a term that we should be putting in a dictionary, and that should be used in the medical field as I gotta make sure I'm saying this right, EEOP. End emergency end of pregnancy. So then what we're going to redefine that is, so EEOP means this person is dying. We have people that are like doctors, surgeons saying we need to do something, but this is in her, but this is up to you guys to decide if you want to do this procedure or not, because it will end the life of the baby. So that is something we need to consider. So that's when we put the ball in the court of the family. And then if they make the decision to say, we want to end this, then do so. Then I say EEOPs should be legal. That is the only time that taking the life of an unborn child should be done. And then redefine abortion as a woman selfishly murdering her unborn child. And basically that would be what an abortion should be known as. Point blank. There is no love behind it. There is no kindness. It is a selfish act, and it needs to be treated as such. And I know a lot of people are going to sit there and bring up weird arguments and stuff. And trust me, I've heard these arguments all over the left to the right field. From, well, it's just a clump of cells. Well, then we're all clumps of cells. So that means then we should be able to make laws that say, well, if we are just killing clumps of cells, then we should be able to do that as such. And then everybody's on an even playing field for having their life taken. Yeah, that doesn't sound like a good idea. People will talk about adoptions and that they're being overtaken and whatnot. Okay, that is true, and then they'll sit there and bring up that there's a bad adoption agencies or foster cares and stuff like that. Yes, there are bad ones that are out there. Also, there are good ones and stuff. It kind of comes down to, yes, I think the government needs to step up their game and do background checks on this and stuff, and we need to up the ante on that a little bit. Yes, agreed. On that, but just because you hear stories of bad adoption places or foster cares and stuff like that doesn't mean that it's every place. It's just in certain areas and whatnot. And so for me, I've always heard that for like every one place that's a bad one, there's about like 9 or 10 that are doing everything by the book, by the code, very good places and whatnot. So I'm not too worried on that so much. And those are kind of just myths right there to kind of just debunk right then and there and stuff. So, but the thing is, we just can't just sit there and say, okay, you got a point. Yes, these numbers are high. They are out of control. Okay, but then what do you want us to do about it? Well, the first thing is what we need to do is redefine abortion, introduce EEOPs, and then next step is then once we make abortion illegal is then we got to sit there and say, okay, now that it's illegal, now we have to go into schools and basically have teachers do their job and be like, you need to educate people on right and wrong when it comes to sex education, saving yourself for marriage, and not listen to the mythologies of birth control kind of thing. It comes down to also we need to have, I think, stricter dress codes, and dress codes should be not just a school thing, but out in public thing as well. Dress code, not where I want to say strict, but then I also don't want to say over strict. I think if people want to wear shirts that have like vulgar language or advertisement of like bars or whatever, as long as it goes by dress code. And my idea of dress code is like in a lot of strict schools, dress code is the shirt touches the pants, and that is what dress code should be. Not that really hard to kind of actually do. And then what we could do is then if we find somebody not going by dress code, we should be able to fine people for not going by that dress code. I think then the next thing we need to do is we need to make it illegal to be able to do porn. We should also be shutting down prostitution, putting in kibosh on strip clubs and whatnot, because the whole problem is with this is we're advertising that this is okay, that sex is all right out of marriage. And it's not just affecting women, it affects men and their way of thinking and stuff as well. And it's not just pregnancies, it comes down to sex addiction as well. The viewing of what sex is as well. And it's not just affecting, again, adults, it affects teens and whatnot. And how they want to dress and how they want to look. And they're wanting to get any attention from people. And it comes down to we need to step up. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is laws. Why do we even have this law? Why should we even make this a law? Like, why should we be taking people's freedoms away? And, and you're going to also bring up, well, okay, that's all good and dandy and whatnot, but then if we make it against the law, then there's just going to be people having unsafe abortions, doing things unsafely. Okay, this is where the fun part gets in, and why I want to educate people on laws, because I think this is very important, why laws are in place. Laws have been around since God created the world and we had the 10 Commandments. And human laws have been in effect for a good period of time as well. Here's the thing that when it comes down to laws, whether it is a commandment from God or an actual law, we all break them. Fine, I'll admit it, we all break them. But if laws were not into effect or commandments were not in effect, the world would be a ruckus. The reason, if you want to go into the Bible, and we'll just start with something a little simple and a little solid, going into the 10 Commandments. If God didn't make commandments and sit there and say, all right, we want to have commandments like thou shalt not use God's name in vain, if that commandment was not a commandment, everybody would be saying, God damn it, every freaking day. If God didn't make a commandment that said, no idol worshiping and stuff, put me as the main focus, people would be all over the place worshiping false idols, worshiping things, thinking that those things are gods, that they are the thing to provide everything and whatnot, when it isn't. And so now let's go into stronger laws, because now we're going to get into the heavy stuff. Why do we have laws that are like, we should not murder people? People will break that law no matter if the law is in existence or not. The idea is to curb murder, as well as things like curbing stealing. We don't want people going into banks, stealing at banks and robbing them. So the idea of having a law is to sit there and say, we curb. Because no law means ruckus, meaning that we live in a world that we can do whatever we want, free country, we can rob the bank and cops can't do anything about it. We would be on a murdering spree and cops couldn't do anything about it. But with law says, no, cops can do stuff and interfere. They can come in and do something about it. They can arrest you and hold you accountable for it, and that there are repercussions of it, meaning people are going to less likely want to do it. Because if there are laws out there, people are not going to sit there and want to shoot people and stuff, because they're going to be like, all right, I might have this negative feeling, I feel a conviction of wanting to do something bad, but what is the consequence? I end up in jail or worse. So then people are kind of like, well, maybe it's not worth it. And then you're going to have a dumb-headed person that will actually go ahead and do it. Yeah, those people exist. But it would be better to have laws in place so we can curve the line and stuff, so that people second think about things and say, is it really worth it to get yourself in trouble and stuff? Trust me, it's just not. So that's why we need to have this out there, because we are looking at it right now. What is happening when we don't have abortion being illegal? It's going over rampant. It's affecting our country and whatnot, and it needs to be put to a stop. Then what will happen is people are going to sit there and actually be like, okay, abortion is illegal. Now they're going to sit there and think, now is having sex before marriage really worth it, if knowing this is what the consequence would be, I can't have an abortion, and people are going to be like, no, I do not want to have sex, I'd rather save myself. I'm not saying it's going to affect everybody. Not everyone's going to have that mentality. But at least the idea of thinking and having that conversation and stepping back and being like, is this a good idea or whatever, would come into play. So, is this a good idea? Yes. But it has to be done the right way. So like I said, strict dress codes and whatnot to be put into play if we make this illegal. Shutting down porn, making that illegal, prostitution illegal in all states, just ending all that and put a kibosh on that is another place of where to do things as well. And you'd be surprised that, with all of that, and then on top of it, having good education and teaching people to have respect for themselves, not just women, but men learning how to respect women and stuff, you could see those numbers going down and this not being such as a big issue. No, we're not going to eliminate everything. But like I said, the idea is to curve it and to stop it or make the number less. Because at the end of the day, this is about saving lives and valuing all human life. No one in this world has the right to take the life of another human. We have laws for a reason, rules for a reason, to obey. I'm not here to be mean and be harsh on people and whatnot. We live in a world where I feel like we're self-centered. We think about ourselves, but we do not think about the other person that is involved in this. Innocent lives being taken. And it's a big deal. And that's why I'm here to preach on this topic, because this topic is bigger than all of us. It's bigger than you. It's bigger than me. This is nothing to do with God and Jesus. This is about, even if we're atheists, can we look at this problem and say, okay, yeah, a lot of people get murdered. When it comes to abortion, unborn children are being murdered on a daily basis, and this is out of control. Can we admit that, the sex industry is out of control, and that's where a lot of it starts? That it's spewing over not just on adults, it's going on to teenagers. It's being affected to kids. And we're sending a bad message out there when it comes to what true love is supposed to be about, what intimacy is supposed to be about, what is awesome about saving yourself for marriage and whatnot. This is the thing we should be advertising about. And we're not. There was a time, I look in history and stuff, and I don't think there was ever a time where this was ever under control, but at least it wasn't running rampant. But now I feel like it is, and something needs to be done. I could sit here and talk about this all day and ramble and talk and go on and on and on, but action needs to be done. And as we are going into this 2024 election, the last thing I want to talk about is I want to talk about politics. I do not think in a world in where women are making bad decisions, where women are selling themselves out as sex objects, that this is the best time that we should have a female as president right now. And I do not want to come off sexist, but this is the best way I can explain it. The best way I kind of look at this is basically looking at a fire. I think there is a fire. And having a female running for president and succeeding at being president will only make the problem more worse than it is already, because we're just going to sit there and say, all right, let's put gas on this fire and make this thing bigger when this problem is already bigger. And what we need to do is have somebody be running for president and actually be in office and say, we're not making the situation bigger. What we're doing is containing the fire from being bigger. And one thing I will admit with Donald Trump, whether you hate him or not, at least he would be containing that fire and not making the fire bigger than it already is and stuff like that. And we need to be containing this fire. At this moment, I cannot say that I have a solution right now to how we're going to deal with this situation. I cannot run for president at this very moment and say, okay, I have this plan, I want to implement, what am I going to do? All I can do right now is just preach on my apps that I use to do content and whatnot, and the best thing I can do is just say, I'm educating people, I am talking to people. That's it. But if I feel like I need to change the world, if I feel like the calling is I need to stand up right now and make change, if I feel like I need to step into for this country and be the voice of the unborn, to pass laws, to make it illegal in all 50 states, (2028) I will run for president. And I will be the voice of the voiceless. I will stand up and say it's over. And I will do the necessary steps I need to take to make that happen. And my goal as president is not to run as Democrat or run as Republican. Not to run as Christian or run as an atheist. But I want to unite everybody. To unite people, no matter what political party is, no matter what religion you are. Yes, I'm a Christian. Yes, I believe in God and Jesus. And yes, I do believe that it is time that we have Him take His world back. To deliver ourselves from the evil that is corrupting ourselves. But sometimes we have to unite and start with the smallest of things and say, we're making a change on this thing. Educating people the way that we need to educate. What we need is the government to step up their A game and know that this is a problem and it needs to be put in as needs to be illegal. Schools need to be teaching about respect for other people and whatnot. We need to have schools step up to end bullying. We need to have schools step up and teach people how to have respect for themselves and whatnot. And to have respect for others. This is a very important topic and we need to be doing something about it. The best way how I can teach this about abortion and stuff like that is, Jesus used metaphors a lot. And I kind of think of this metaphor as planting a tree. If you want to plant a tree, plant a tree. But don't plant a tree if you're not ready to plant a tree. And do what it takes to be responsible for that tree. It's the same thing with having a child. If you're not ready to have a child, don't have sex. Save yourself for that opportunity when you're financially stable and wait till you find that person that you love. Wait for that soulmate. Wait for that person to come into your life and say, I want to be with that person. That's the person I want to marry. Do the right steps. Make it work. And when you have that commitment ready and whatnot, and you have saved a lot of money, then take classes. I could sit here and say, do everything. Just take classes, have all this money saved up. All of this stuff, get married. And even with that all said and done, no one is ever ready to be a parent. It's never easy. And the trials, even going before becoming a parent, the pain and the struggle that you will go through, it's going to be hard. Don't get me wrong. I know about that. And trust me, no counseling, no classes are going to ever get you prepared for that. Sorry, there's a semi going by here. And the last thing I want to come out and talk about is, as I end this video, is I do want to talk about people who have been raped and have been pregnant because of that. Because this is where I'm going to get a little bit emotional, and people are going to sit there and be like, you don't even care about the women who got raped. I do. But if something were to happen to me, let's say I have a bad day at work, let's say I even got fired, or let's say if I had a significant other and I got married and whatnot, and she gave me a bad day, bad attitude, I can't shut down and sit there and say, I want to go kill somebody today. Whether it's my wife or a significant other. Can't go take it out on the people that I work with. Can't hold them all hostage. So then why should you? Why should you be able to get away with murder? I know it's a hard journey, but it doesn't give you the right. Just like I don't have the right. A life is a life is a life. Whether you're a fetus in the womb, it still has a heartbeat, or has the potential to have a heartbeat. It has brain function, or will have the ability to have brain function. The thing is we don't look at things as, a fetus being a human. We look at it being defenseless, and you don't understand what it can be. And yeah, people grow up to just live normal lives. Some people live to have fabulous lives, lead extraordinary lives. But the person that you're trying to take out could be the person who could find the cure for cancer, or a disease, or a disability. He could become a famous actor or actress. Could be the next big singer. Person could actually have a scientific breakthrough through medicine. You wouldn't even know it. You don't know what that tree will bear fruit until that tree has fully grown. But when you end it, you're not just ending something valuable, but the potential of it to be something. All human life is valuable. It's precious. All human life should be valued. No person is lesser or more important than the other. Just like my life is not more important than one person to the next. So as my end statement, I just want people to understand I'm not here to upset people. I'm here to share something that's valuable to me. How beautiful life really is. It is precious. It is gorgeous. And you don't need to be a Christian to see that. Every human in this world has potential. And just because they're not going to be of importance, like being a lawyer or being a chef, if people live just to work at grocery stores or restaurants or whatever, it's still a life that's still valuable. That person still has merit. And I treasure every human being on the face of the earth. It is the reason that I got into wanting to work at an assisted living place. Why I wanted to become a singer and go out to Vegas to help the poor. My love for this world is deep. And this message is a very important message for me. We need to make change. We got to stop making excuses of why are we not making that change. It is time to rise up. Be the voice of the voiceless. Thank you for your time. Let's do this.